Hello and welcome to the Rebels247 Round Table. I'm Webb Lewis alongside Brandon Red. David Johnson headed to vacation today, so this is going to be a duet on this Friday, July 12th, 2013. A lot to talk about. Brandon, first things first, this past Wednesday, one of the top offensive linemen in the country pulls the trigger and announces for Ole Miss over Alabama. That's Rod Taylor. You were at Callaway High School when this went down. Why don't you tell us about it?
Well, first off, as an Ole Miss fan, you have to be excited to get a commitment like that, a guy that can truly change the game on the offensive line. Rod Taylor is a quick guy. He's got quick feet. He's very athletic. I was talking to the offensive line coach and their head coach before Taylor announced between Alabama and Ole Miss, and both his coaches were just saying, hey, this is probably the most athletic offensive lineman in the country. And everybody kind of got set up. Rod Taylor, if you know Rod, you know he's kind of a quiet guy. So there wasn't any hat tricks, so to speak. He didn't fake one hat on the head and flop it off like Bobby Massey did one year with Alabama and Ole Miss. When it was time for the decision, he said, I'm going to Ole Miss. He put an Ole Miss hat on. He said, any questions? It was pretty simple, pretty straightforward. What a get, though, Webb, for Ole Miss. Last year, you get somebody like Tunzel and Golson, and this year now you already got Rod Taylor. You already got Andy Bauer. How good can this offensive line be? I know that they're setting up to be possibly one of the best offensive lines in the country.
I agree. If the rankings pan out and Golson and Tunzel are what they are expected to be, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. Same thing for Rod Taylor and Andy Bauer. Ole Miss looking at a top-notch offensive line for the next few years. And I tell you, the line they're going to be working with in 2013 is no slouch either, with Pierce Burton anchoring one of the tackle positions, and I think he'll be one of the top tackles in the country by the time the season's over. Now, with the Rod Taylor commitment, that's three. That's three of the Fab Four that they call themselves there at Callaway, with Ronald Walker, Dale Harris, Rod Taylor, and defensive lineman Breland Speaks, who I think is probably one of the most underrated defensive linemen in the country. Outstanding young athlete. Red, you and I and David also have Breland crystal balled to Ole Miss.
Right.
Is this does Ole Miss still have some work to do with Speaks, or is it just a matter of time?
I want to go, Webb, and I hope I'm right here for the fact that I like to be right and I like to get the crystal balls right. I'm going to go with he is Ole Miss's to lose, Webb. I really believe that. I did an interview with Breland right after Rod Taylor committed to Ole Miss, and if any of you watched the video, you know that he kind of said, I'm still taking my time. I feel like I can make a decision soon, but I'm still looking at Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I think he's just playing the recruitment process game right now. I think he's still, he's a smart kid. He's evaluating his options. I think at the end of the day, I would be very, very surprised if he didn't go to Ole Miss. And I think a commitment could happen in the next couple weeks to the next month. I think it's going to happen probably either before Callaway's season start or right after it starts.
Yeah, I've had several recruits tell me this, and it sounds like Speaks has fallen into that mold. They understand they're never going to be this wanted again. So enjoy the process, I guess you could say. But I'm like you. I think Speaks will eventually be a Rebel. That's 4 Callaway players the Rebels could have in this class. I got the opportunity to see one of those firsthand on Wednesday. Dale Harris coming up for the Southern Elite Combine that was held on Wednesday at FNC Park. Dale was kind of when he committed or got the offer, it was kind of an unknown type deal. You knew of Ronald Walker. You knew of Breland Speaks. You obviously knew of Rod Taylor. Dale Harris kind of came up unrated. When he got the offer, nobody really had a rating on him or anything. Nobody had an accurate size. You look at one side, he was 6'1". The next one, he was 6'5". He's every bit of 6'4". Got to lay eyes on him today, around 180 pounds or so. Not a blazing wide receiver. He's not going to outrun anybody. But when he plants that foot on the out route, he gets about 2 to 3 feet of separation, and he uses his length to haul in passes. Very aggressive wide receiver, and this was not a strategic offer. Honestly, when I first saw it, that's what I thought. I thought, well, they're trying to wrap this thing up so that they can get Speaks, Taylor, and Walker. and Dayall may be a piece to get them there. That's not it at all. Dayall holding his own. He's every bit of the 4-star that 247 Sports has rated him. A lot of talent at the Southern Elite Combine, especially at that wide receiver position. You all know of Cameron Sims out of Ouachita Parish, Louisiana, the number 10 wide receiver in the nation. And look, Red, after seeing him run routes in the 7-on-7, I'm hard pressed. It's hard for me to believe that there are 9 receivers in the class of 2014 that are better than this kid. Looks like he's about a biscuit short of a linebacker. All right, huge, big frame, runs a solid 40. His routes are crisp, but what I liked about him is he caught touchdown after touchdown and made defensive backs fall down and look silly all afternoon in the 7-on-7. He'd catch the ball, hand it to the official, get back in the huddle, never said a word, never did anything, just kept playing the game. I love to see that in an athlete.
Well, I mean, tell me this: what are Ole Miss's odds with Cameron Sims? I mean, obviously he's been to Oxford 3 times now this summer. I mean,
yeah.
Is Ole Miss in the mix?
Well, Red, we've heard recruits, and I'm not saying the recruits lied to you, but a lot of times when they say I don't have any favorites, I'm not really thinking about right now. You and I both know that 9 times out of 10 that's not true.
Right.
They've got somebody in mind, something's on their mind. But I genuinely believe Cameron Sims when he says I'm just not in any hurry. Doesn't have the LSU offer. Could be one of those Duke Riley type things
right.
where he's going to play, not necessarily play the schools, but flirt with some serious contenders. And if LSU was to come to make an offer at some point, head off to Baton Rouge. I'm not saying that'll happen, but right now, Ole Miss very much alive. He likes the spread offense, likes the idea of getting the ball multiple times. But right now, I honestly believe him when he says, I have no favorites. I've been to Oxford 3 times this summer, but that doesn't mean Ole Miss is the leader. I wouldn't mind playing for him, but I don't know right now.
And when fans and readers and listeners hear that, wait, why is Cameron Sims not have an LSU offer? Is he just not that good? No, that's not the thing. If you look at LSU's recruiting class this year and the wide receivers just in the state of Louisiana, you're talking about maybe the top 5 best wide receivers in the country are all from the state of Louisiana. Yeah. You got players like Speedy Noel. I'm sure people remember him. He was the best Sparks at the opening. You have Malachi Dupree from John Curtis High School that is amazing. You have Trey Quinn, a guy that's interested in Ole Miss, but he has an LSU offer. Right. And then you factor in a Cameron Sims. As good of a team LSU is, they can only take so many wide receivers.
Right. And
I think that is why we haven't seen LSU offer Cameron Sims yet. Not because he's not a high-quality player, it's just because they have some of the best players at the wide receiver position in the state of Louisiana.
They really do. And honestly, you say Trey Quinn. This is a guy that I really like. Trey Quinn. I like his ability to get open, find the open space, and make catches. Caught over 130 passes last year as a junior at Barb High School in Louisiana. We'll be in Oxford this weekend. Coming to Ole Miss for an unofficial this weekend at a camp. Quinn would be a big get, and I'm like you with all the talent in Louisiana. Not that if you're a wide receiver in Louisiana, LSU automatically gets first dibs with you. It's not that we're saying that, but more times than not, that happens to be the case. And this year, LSU is going to have to turn away some very top talent at the wide receiver position, and the fact that they have not even offered Cameron Sims, honestly, after seeing him firsthand, it blows my mind.
Yeah, we've often said if you're from the state of Louisiana and you're LSU, you got a great shot to get any of the players you want. Oftentimes, if you see a team that can go into the state of Louisiana and get a player like that, it's Alabama. Now you're starting to see a little bit something different. You're seeing Texas A&M go into Louisiana some and get some of those good players. If Speedy Noel doesn't go to LSU, I would say it'd be Texas A&M, players like that. But Cameron Sims, everything I've heard from you guys, he's a great player. I've watched his film. He looks like just a true athlete, and you mentioned, Webb, his size. He has great size.
Absolutely. I tell you what, the Southern Elite Combine this past week was a lot of fun. The talent there was phenomenal. We're talking about an Oklahoma Sooner commit from Harrison Central down South Mississippi, and Tito Wyndham coming in running a 4.340. Outstanding cornerback, big-time player. Does not have an Ole Miss offer, but I will say this. he did say that Sammy Epps, who is a good friend of his, Ole Miss commit Sammy Epps, is staying in his head about Ole Miss. He said, I'm still committed to Oklahoma, but I'm listening. I'm listening, and I don't know what that means. I mean, he doesn't, like I said, he doesn't have the Ole Miss offer. That could soon change. We'll talk to him a little bit later on and get something up on the website on how Tito's feeling about the Rebels. You had Lashard Dorr, a Mississippi State commit, also from Harrison Central, looking good in the secondary. And then you had the guys that you don't know a lot about. I tell you what, Madison Ridgeland Academy has a quarterback in Caleb Schufelt, a running back, and a kid named Everhart that ran a 4.40 on Wednesday, and then a wide receiver, Zach McGraw, that I honestly couldn't tell if McGraw was that good or the relationship that he had with his quarterback Schufelt was that good. These guys were eating people alive on 7-on-7. It was impressive to see that. The big guys that were there, big time players. Doing work in the one-on-one. Senatobia High School had a good-looking player.
Senatobia representing.
Tevin Wooten was there. He looked really good. Eli Johnson, he got the Mississippi State offer. Actually having an unofficial at Mississippi State today as we speak. They're en route to Starkville. Eli just kind of doing work at the combine. He lives for those things.
He'll be one of the best offensive guards in the country by the time he heads into his senior year. He is completely blown up, and for any college football team to know you as an offensive lineman when you're just going into your sophomore season, you have to be doing something right.
Oh, absolutely. I was probably still playing with G.I. Joe when I was his age. And so, Eli did a lot of good work at the combine. And some things stood out. There were some kids at Water Valley. Tamarick Person, wide receiver. The camp started out. He's playing wide receiver. He runs a decent 40 time, kind of a small guy, but he's got a red Ole Miss visor on backwards. So you kind of see him all over the place. You can see that Ole Miss visor. And when 7-on-7 started, he started making some catches. And you hear the coaches and some of the hey, who's that guy in that red visor? Who is that guy? And then by the end of the 7-on-7 competition, it was somebody get on Person, somebody cover Person, double team Person. He had a big camp. Water Valley's got a good player in him. Alex Woodall, quarterback from Macomb, big guy, 6'3", 230 pounds plus, threw the ball really well. I wouldn't get in his way. They didn't have pads on out there, but I would be reluctant as a corner or a safety if he was to tuck and roll on a flood pass. I'd be getting out of the way. Good looking kid. Southern League Combine, a lot of fun. It was only about 126 degrees outside for the majority of the combine, but it was great. Big time turnout. Looking forward to doing it again next year.
You know, we talked about it before. Southern Elite Combine last year was the first year. This is the second year. Webb, it's only getting better, man. More talent, more athletes, better players. I can only imagine this time next year what type of talent we'll have at it.
Well, that's what's cool is when you've got so much talent that when we sit down and we divvy up these 7-on-7 teams,
right?
You've got Cameron Sims lined up at wide receiver on one side of the field. Dale Harris split out on the other side. And then covering them, you've got a Mississippi State commit and Lashard Dorr. You've got an Oklahoma Sooner commit and Tito Wyndham. You've got quarterbacks like Alex Woodall, Caleb Schufelt, Rip Kirk of South Panola was there. It's just a lot of fun. You had Oxford High School really well represented. Michael McGee, Liggins looking really good out there. But I tell you what, Ole Miss commit 2016 to Kalen Metcalf. Look,
impressive.
He's a specimen. That's all I can say. If you've ever seen this kid, and he's a track guy, triple jump hurdler, you need to see this kid jump. And I've never seen anybody use their jumping ability, their leaping ability. It's almost like the quarterbacks knew if I can just throw this when nobody else can catch it, he'll get up there and get it. Just a springboard on his pass routes. Very athletic. I look forward to seeing what he can do with Jack Abraham at quarterback this year at Oxford High School and for the next few years. Yeah. Both of them sophomores, so that's something that's going to be happening a lot. As we kind of wind down the Southern Elite Combine talk, Brandon, we got some some negative things to talk about in Ole Miss basketball is what all the naysayers, all the haters, I guess you could say, have been wanting to happen.
Oh, they love this moment.
Have been wanting to happen since he arrived on campus. Unfortunately, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about Marshall Henderson being suspended indefinitely by the basketball team here. Red, just kind of talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, I'm sure, as most of you know, Marshall Henderson has been suspended from the team indefinitely, and I think you were right, Webb, when you said this is what all his haters and all his critics wanted, was the fact that we're not sure if Marshall Henderson will be playing basketball for Ole Miss next season. Obviously, there's been reports now that he was arrested pulled over in May, and with maybe some marijuana possession and some other things going on with that. And there's just a lot of negative things going out about Marshall Henderson right now that everyone was saying. Everyone used to tweet about Marshall Henderson is this, Marshall Henderson is that. Well, now some of the things that they said he was doing are showing up that he did. And now is a critical time. I wrote a piece yesterday, Webb, just talking about now is a critical time in Marshall Henderson's career, that, if he gets a second opportunity at Ole Miss, he's had more than one opportunity in his life, but if he gets a second opportunity while he's here at Ole Miss, he must make the best of it. He is not going to the NBA tomorrow if he doesn't play for Ole Miss this season. No NBA team will take a risk like that.
I agree.
And it would be hard for an overseas team to take a risk like that. But this gives him another opportunity. If he's given another opportunity, he can change what he needs to change around, and he can do better. And you're right, though. All the haters, all the people that said, I hope this happens to Marshall Henderson, can't stand Marshall Henderson, all that stuff is really kind of throwing dirt on him now.
Yeah, they are. And I'll say this. We saw a tenacious Marshall Henderson all basketball season when the Rebels would be down early, and often they were down at the half. And it would take a rally from Henderson and Holloway and Buckner to get things going and to get them over the hump in the second half. And he never quit. He never quit. Very tough individual. Now Henderson is going to have to show his teammates, his coaches, the fan base, what he's made of. Because now it's serious. Now he's got to grit his teeth. I think he gets that second chance, and I think it's on him. And we're going to see if Marshall Henderson can do this or not. You absolutely hate to see a student athlete, or anyone for that matter, basketball aside, this could be bigger than basketball if he does, in fact, have a problem.
Right.
And you want to see him overcome that. You know he's going to get every opportunity to, but in the end, it all comes down to Marshall Henderson and what Marshall Henderson wants to do for himself.
I think you were right on when you said something there, Webb, about it's beyond basketball. Sometimes we view basketball players or athletes in general as somebody beyond humans. If Marshall has a problem, if he has to go get help for this problem, and these are all speculations that could be happening that might be just around the corner, I hope that people remember that he is human and that, yes, people do make mistakes. What would you, if you knew somebody, if you were friends with somebody, if you were acquaintances with somebody and you knew they had a problem, would you make fun of it to them, to their face, or on Twitter or through Facebook or whatever? No, you wouldn't. Mm-hmm. So I hope fans of Ole Miss and fans of other schools, whether it be rival schools in the SEC or anywhere, that they do remember that people have problems because athletes are people.
Right. Absolutely. And we just wish the whole situation to work itself out. And honestly, Red, if Marshall Henderson never steps on the court again,
right,
for an Ole Miss Rebel, but gets this problem worked out, I'm fine with that. Yeah. You would like to see it go both ways, and like I said, I think he's going to have that opportunity. I think he's going to be back, and he's got something to prove. And Marshall Henderson, he excels.
Yeah,
when he
lives off that.
Yeah, absolutely. So. Hopefully things will get pointed in the right direction.
Here's the one thing and I wrote this yesterday in my column, is that if there's one thing we know Marshall Henderson can do, he's not going to let media, or he's not going to let some people saying bad things about him on the internet get to him. He just doesn't care enough. He doesn't care, or maybe he does, but he hides it somewhere, you know. But he tries not to let it get to him.
Sure.
And I think in this case, that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Well, man, from Rod Taylor to Breland Speaks to the Southern Elite Combine, now with Marshall Henderson, we're going to shut it down here on the third installment of the official Rebels 247 podcast, the Rebels 247 Round Table. I'm Webb Lewis along with Brandon Red. We'll see you guys next week.